Didn't you know? Zelda Wind Waker was a pirate-centric, watery cartoon nightmare for Zelda fans released in 2002, which later became a pirate-centric, watery cartoon classic after fans actually played the game. It was originally planned to be a sequel to Majora's Mask and continue in the ever-darker path that Zelda was going down as a series. However, series creator Shigeru Miyamoto noticed the backlash other adult-themed games were receiving at the time, and thus reduced the amount of nudity and gore to prevent an adults-only rating. Some remnants of this stage of development are still left in the game, however, such as the implications of a ghost ship and the brutal slaughter of their corpses, the abduction and forced captivity of underage girls, as well as an uncensored stabbing of Ganondorf straight through the skull. However, Miyamoto's concerns were evidently misplaced, as when it was submitted for a rating, the ESRB raters simply gave it an E rating anyway, due to it being a Zelda game, a trend which was broken with the next game in the series after parental outcry following the release of Wind Waker. Wind Waker is a unique entry in the Zelda franchise as it was the first to be entirely based around traversing the sea. This concept was inspired by the biblical story of Noah's Ark. In this story, the world is flooded and Noah must create an ark to traverse the flooded world, and eventually sends a dove to seek out evidence of unsubmerged land. This is referenced through Zelda's mutated dove mailman friend Quill, who carries mail from other islands to Zelda throughout the main story. Noah is then promised by God that such a worldwide flood will never happen again, which is surprisingly also addressed in the Zelda universe. The only other game in the series centered on traversing a flooded world is the direct sequel, Zelda's Crossbow Training for the Nintendo DS, and its immediate sequel, known in America as Trash, no longer takes place in a watery world. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker introduced many new characters to the Zelda universe. Among these are Aryll, Zelda's sister, who is based off of popular Nickelodeon mutant fish Ariel, the old man from Zelda Breath of the Wild, who is based on pyrotechnic genie wizard Albus Dumbledore, and Tetra, the underaged pirate based off of the South American small freshwater caricaform fish of the same name. However, what you might not know is that if you take the first letters of their names in that order, you get AOMT, the initials for the Association of Ohio Music Therapists. This is an incredibly well-hidden Easter egg put in by the developers as a reference to the immense importance of each individual song in the completion of the game. One of the game's side quests revolves around the fragile physical state of Zelda's grandmother, known in-game as Grandma. During the side quest, the player enslaves an innocent fairy and forces it to blow itself up so as to extract the mana to cast a high-power healing spell for Grandma. As a result, Grandma gives the player the greatest healing item in the game, her freshly made soup. The soup not only fully restores the player's health and mana, but also multiplies the strength of sword-based attacks until the player is hit. When asked about the reasoning behind soup being stronger than the strongest potions, Miyamoto explained that it was a reference to his formative years. When I was a kid, my grandma would come down to the basement to give me my meals while I was working on making games. I always looked forward to it, as she was the only human contact I had back then. Her soup in particular always made me full of energy, like I could pick up a boulder, throw it at some pigs, and still have strength, which was the inspiration for the power bracelets. I learned later, however, that this was because she had secretly been putting steroids in my soup. A weird lady, but definitely helpful in the creative process. Miyamoto was then asked where he got the idea to have a fairy explode in a burst of mana to heal Grandma in Wind Waker. He reportedly began to sweat profusely, simply replying with, "No comment." Of all the characters introduced in Wind Waker, only one of them has no name. The mysterious masked merchant on Rockspire Island is never given a name in-universe. However, fans have speculated that he may actually be a reference to another Zelda character. The character that this secretive seller is based on is actually BEEDLE from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. If you look closely, you'll find many similar physical characteristics shared between the two, as well as similar occupations. This is referenced by the Vexing Vendor's inventory, which includes a heart piece, one of the same major items sold by BEEDLE in Skyward Sword. While it's well known that this is a different timeline, this hasn't stopped fans from speculating that the masked man may have a fee of his own within this timeline. Didn't you also know that the song Reach for the Stars wasn't originally supposed to be the main theme for Sonic Colors, but was actually made to be the theme song for Super Mario Galaxy 2? If you want to know more trivia on Sonic and other obscure video game series, look out for the Didn't You Know Video Games episode on Sonic Colors. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to leave a like and press the subscribe button to show support. If you want the chance to see episodes a week before their release, or choose what episode I work on next, consider checking out the Patreon. Thank you to the patrons listed in the description who are currently supporting the channel on Patreon. And don't forget to look out for new episodes of Didn't You Know Video Games.